I want to go now to our second observance. As the mother of a gay son and the dreaded mother-in-law of his husband, the issues of LGBTQ respect and equality are just part of where I live. And I know that it's a gut punch to families like mine to have Betsy DeVos and Donald Trump openly attack LGBTQ little people and big people. It is the foundation work of this NEA board and the 3 million educators we represent that we inform ourselves of the best way to support all our students, especially targeted students like our LGBTQ students, how we create learning spaces that affirm who they are, that we're aware of the special needs of some students during this time of pandemic and virtual connections from homes that may actually not be the safest place for them. You've got to visit neaedjustice.org to get active in the movement for racial and social justice in education and to find more ways to support LGBTQ youth and address hate and address bias. And you can also visit our partners at the Human Rights Campaign. I love the Human Rights Campaign. They had the best Read Across America event ever. And for more resources, you can go up to the Human Rights Campaign and see how COVID-19 is impacting LGBTQ communities in ways that are probably going to be a surprise to a lot of people. So I am very excited right now to turn this observance over to our chair of the NEA Sexual Orientation and Gender Identity Committee, Saul Ramos, to introduce our observance presenter. Saul?
Thank you, Lily. Hello, directors, observers, and staff. I'd like to personally thank the SOGI committee, our leadership, our LGBTQ plus directors and allies, and the NEA LGBTQ plus Caucus for your continuous advocacy and determination. We have come a long way, but we still have a long road ahead of us in our fight for equality. Our students, our educators, our community need you all to step up, make this world safer for us, especially during these times, as many LGBTQ youth are homeless or stuck in a home that does not accept how special they are. We must continue to reach out and show our support. I also wanted to say how thankful I am to be chair this year, especially as a person of color and an education support professional. It is now my honor to introduce our speaker, Stacey Simmons. As Director of Advocacy and Action, Stacey is a lobbyist who is responsible for driving cultural, legislative, and policy changes at the local, state, and federal level. Under her leadership, the task force has advocated on health care, including reproductive issues, criminal and economic justice, youth and LGBTQ rights, racial equity, non-discrimination protections, fair housing, immigration, wage and workplace issues, democracy, and voting rights, disability justice, anti-violence, and other areas. Since joining the task force in 2009, Stacey has testified before the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, appeared on CNN, NPR, and was quoted in several other media outlets. Prior to joining the task force, Stacey worked for Bread for the City in D.C., as well as for 2 Chicago-based LGBTQ organizations, Horizons Community Services and Howard Brown Health Center. After law school, she served as Wisconsin's first women's health officer, where she led a groundbreaking statewide women's health initiative. Over the years, Stacey has volunteered her time for SMILE, the D.C. Commission for Women, the National Executive Board of Pride and Work, AFL-CIO, and the Leadership Advisory Council of the National Black Justice Coalition. As a publicly recognized leader, Stacey is a member of cohorts in the prestigious Rockwood Leadership Fellowship Program and the 21st Century Fellowship of the Pipeline Project. Originally from Queens, New York, Stacey received a bachelor's degree in Africana Studies from Vassar College, a JD from the University of Wisconsin Law School, and a nonprofit management executive certificate from the Georgetown University Public Policy Institute. Stacey, her wife, and their son live in Maryland with Brandy, the quietest dog on earth. Please welcome Stacey Simmons.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I really, really appreciate it, and I especially appreciate that you included the part about me being from Queens. I have to say, talking to an audience of educators is one of my greatest privileges, so thank you, NEA, for the invitation. And also, I never miss an opportunity to let people know that I'm the proud, proud product of the New York City public school system. Woohoo! I also am the mother of a 4-year-old who is consistently attending Quarantine Academy through circle time every day. And so I have to say I cannot thank each and every one of you enough, and educators across the world who take the time and have the energy, patience, and dedication and make the sacrifices that are required to take care of our children, to parent them, to guide them, to educate them. I had long hair before this all started, and it's since started to just fall out because the 4-year-old is really giving me a run for my money. He's quite a rambunctious little one. But anyway, I couldn't miss an opportunity to say that to you all. So the National LGBTQ Task Force is the oldest organization in the country, the oldest LGBTQ advocacy group that was founded shortly after Stonewall. And we are small and we are mighty. We have about 39 staff members, and I have about 11 people on my team. And one of the things that we are best known for is our organizing, our training, our groundbreaking research, our convenings. We actually host one of the largest, I think the largest annual conference on LGBTQ issues. It's called Creating Change, and we move it around the country, so it may actually have been hosted by some of the cities that some of you are from. It actually is the place to be if you are a student, if you are a campus administrator, if you are an educator, if you are a parent, an ally. That conference draws policy experts, issue area experts, activists, advocates, everyone, you name it. It has been as large as 4,000 people. And so I encourage you to visit creatingchange.org, which is the website for our conference, so that you have an opportunity to learn more about that annual event. So I want to make sure that I just give you a snapshot of the work that we do, because I understand that it's been a long evening and I certainly don't want to take any more time than necessary. That very, very long bio that was just read was one of the reasons why we've recently changed our frame to 3 simple letters. We call it Get Fed, F-E-D. It's our way of talking about the fact that we are focusing on faith, we're focusing on equity, and we're focusing on democracy. And the reason we are focusing on faith, for starters, is we've actually had a very long history of working on this issue in communities, organizing with clergy, organizing with people in the pews across denominations and faith and background beliefs. We are very, very keen in knowing that there is a false narrative that presents LGBTQ issues and religion, faith, and spirituality as being at opposite ends of the spectrum or incongruent, and we believe that that could not be further from the truth. And so we believe it's our role to talk about the fact that there are people like me who are Christian, who are LGBTQ and Christian. There are people like my parents who are people of faith, who are open and affirming and love their grandchild. And so I think that the country has finally gotten to a point where we've achieved tremendous momentum and support for LGBTQ issues. And I just wanted to be sure and let you know that that cuts across backgrounds, it cuts across partisan beliefs, it cuts across demographic experiences and identities. So the biggest challenge, though, that we currently have in this arena is that faith is being used as a license to discriminate in education, as was mentioned earlier. And we really think that the religious exemptions can be extraordinarily harmful to, for example, the 40% of youth who are homeless and are seeking shelter. If their only option is to approach a shelter that is religious-based and is taking public funding but refusing to allow that youngster to stay, or conditioning that stay on conversion therapy or any sort of denouncement of who they are, that as a person, that is unacceptable in our view. The other area, equity, is really about making sure that we can finally close this gap. There are about 30 places that have protections, 30 states that have protections, non-discrimination protections, but that's not 50, right, plus DC. And so we're fighting to pass federal non-discrimination protections that are explicit and comprehensive. We're also fighting to make sure that sex education is inclusive. So if any of you are involved in providing sex education to youth, we ask that you learn about ways to be LGBTQ inclusive as you're working on that. And I'll just note that we have a convening coming up on May 16th, which is LGBTQ youth-led, and it's about how they can create their own curriculum and do their own advocacy. So in the remaining just probably 1 second or two, I'll just say we are all about democracy. We have a very robust Queer the Census campaign. We've been involved in queering the census for decades, and we understand it to be important because it's about the money, it's about the composition of the congressional districts, and it's about the ability to actually point to who we are and validate our experiences as we're fighting for protections under the law. We actually have the data if the census is done right. And so I just want to close and thank you again, let you know just how delighted I was to have this opportunity. I've shared some resources for you. I've made myself available via my telephone number and email address in the slides that I've presented. And the last thing that I will say to you is LGBTQ youth are not just vulnerable and at risk. They're also talented, creative, resilient, strong. And if they are allowed to grow up, they will most likely be the ones in their families who are taking care of family members and being trailblazers in their communities and being change agents and just going on to do great things. And so I just thank you for the time and really appreciate the invitation. Have a good rest of your board meeting.
And I want to thank you, Stacey. Thank you, Saul. The materials that we have and what we're going to be sharing with our members across the country, we truly, truly appreciate that. Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight.